Hello, Star Trek fans, and welcome to the Rebinge Deep Space Nine podcast. My name is Kim.
And my name is James.
And we're watching Star Trek Deep Space Nine from the beginning, one episode at a time. Welcome back to the podcast. Today we are on Season 5, Episode 18, Business as Usual. This episode aired April 7th, 1997. Before we talk about this one, anything to say about last week's episode, which was Odo Gets a Girlfriend?
No, it was perfect.
It was also known as A Simple Investigation. But yeah, I think that was a pretty good podcast.
That was also a good episode. I did enjoy it.
Yeah, that was not bad. Well, should we talk about this one? Unfortunately for me, a Ferengi episode.
This is one of the few I actually looked at who directed it, and it was Alexander Siddig.
Yes, it was. That is on my notes too.
Well, I'm ready.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else. Okay. In the cold open, Quark and Dax are playing Tango, but Quark is distracted by some bad financial news. Not only did he lose 15 strips of latinum to Dax, but he's apparently lost everything. He's in a lot of debt, and he's put the bar up as collateral for 3 separate loans, and they're all due next week. This is a very bad idea, Quark. Come on.
Yeah, he is. This reinforces my all Ferengi are really terrible businessmen at heart.
Well, Quark for sure.
So he invested everything in Bitcoin.
Yeah. Well, 3 separate loans with the same collateral is high risk.
That sounds a bit like something out of The Producers.
It does a little bit.
Is this going to be the musical episode?
I've been waiting. I've been waiting since episode 13. Oh, if only. Well, just then Quark's cousin Gaila arrives. This is the cousin we've heard about many times, but we've never met him. He's the guy who has his own moon, and he's the guy that gave Quark the faulty spaceship that nearly killed him.
Yep.
He has a little gross interaction with Dax before she leaves.
So is everybody okay with the Ferengi just playing with themselves out in the open?
What? What are you talking about?
He's touching Dax and rubbing his ear.
Oh!
Rubbing his lobes.
Oh my god, even worse. I didn't notice. I try not to look, and sometimes I fast forward when Ferengi are doing things because it's just gross. And, well, now you've upset me. Gonna have to shut down the podcast. I need to go on Dax's podcast, Inappropriate Conversations with Jedzia Dax, and we can discuss this topic and how disgusting it is. Anyway.
I'll just say, yeah, he seems to be behaving like a Ferengi.
So Gaila says that he's here because he knows about Quark's financial situation and he wants to offer Quark a job. Even though the FCA has banned Quark, he doesn't care. Quark has turned down selling weapons in the past because he can't run weapons through the station, not while Odo works there. But Gaila has other ideas. He wants to use Quark's skills as a salesperson, not to actually transport any weapons. So Gaila says the weapons business is so lucrative that Quark will be out of debt in a month, and in 6 months, the FCA will be begging to reinstate him. And suddenly, Quark is on board, and we cue the theme song.
Yes. I guess Quark's qualms about arms dealing have a limit at he's actually bankrupt and going to lose everything.
Well, and he doesn't really seem to have any concerns about arms dealing. What he has concerns about is that Odo will catch him.
Yeah.
Those are 2 different things.
Well, I think in the past he said how he didn't want to go into that business because he was a people person.
Oh, right. Yeah, somewhere in here, I think Gaila says, I know you've said before that the job's too technical and it's not a people job, but he's trying to tell Quark that this would be a people job, or at least that would be Quark's part in it. And he sees that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, he's just a sales and marketing guy, really.
Right. Well, after the theme song, we go to the O'Brien quarters, and Miles is trying to get the baby, Kirayoshi, which is an adorable name, to sleep, but the baby cries every time he puts him down, so he's been carrying him around for hours.
Aww.
And Jake is there for some reason, and he volunteers to babysit because Keiko is away, but the baby starts to cry, and Jake gives up, immediately, in a second. So Miles says that he'll just take the baby to work.
I have the feeling Jake may have been volunteered for this by his father.
Oh, he was sent over, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so it becomes nope, baby didn't like me, we're done.
The baby is super adorable, by the way, and very smiley, and there's no way that this is the baby that's crying all the time. I thought that was pretty funny. It's such a happy baby.
It's been drugged.
It may be. In Quark is jumping up and down on the bar stools and poking glasses and sticking his finger into liquids in an attempt to see if Odo is hiding. I love it when he does that. And finally, the person that he and Gaila have been waiting for arrives, and it's a kind of scary-looking dude named Haggith.
Yes.
And he has a very tall girlfriend, and their intense purple outfits are impressive. I really like their outfits.
And immediately I knew not to trust this guy because he was the evil Russian commander in Rambo 2.
Yeah, I think that's the unfortunate part of television, maybe, is that just by pure stereotype, you know he's a bad guy. Just by the way he looks, which is a sad thing to say, but it's totally true.
Well, he has a great look.
Very intense.
He has this look of a real intense villain.
Yes. So Gaila summoned Haggith here with the opportunity of a lifetime. I'd never trust a Ferengi telling me something was the opportunity of a lifetime.
No.
But off we go to the holosuites, where we see a sort of weapons showroom.
It's kind of like an Arizona gun show.
The weapons are all holograms too, so it's safe to test them out, which Haggith does by aiming a gun at Quark and firing.
At which point he says, it's just like the real thing. It even pulls a little to the left.
Yes.
Why would an energy weapon or a phaser have any kind of pull?
It wouldn't, but I would also think that their definition of what that meant would be different in this future.
Oh.
And that instead, perhaps the weapon is a little heavy on that side or something.
Interesting. So you think it could be the universal translator translating it into a understandable language of it pulls to the left.
Yeah, I
rather
guess
than
so.
saying it's a little unbalanced.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay, that's my level headcanon there.
Thank you very much. I'm learning from the best. Quark does learn an important thing here. He learns that they often sell weapons to opposing sides in wars because it's good business, provided either side doesn't realize what's happening. And this becomes important later.
Yes.
So Haggith and Gaila are really in love with this holographic weapons showroom idea. No actual weapons need to come in or out of the station, so no local laws are broken. The actual shipping happens outside of Federation space, so Starfleet can't do anything. And then Gaila tells Haggith that it was all Quark's idea, which I have to say is very suspicious.
That almost makes it seem like he's setting Quark up to take the blame if something goes wrong.
Oh, 100%. Haggith then tells Quark that they're going to do great things together, but he warns Quark not to ever cross him. That's always scary. Quark does ask Gaila why he gave him credit, and Gaila says he wants Haggith to like Quark. So, very suspicious.
Yeah. This is the dude who tried to kill you by giving you a faulty spacecraft.
Right. It was that spacecraft that made them end up in the past on Earth.
Yeah. I guess that points to just how desperate Quark is.
Yeah, I do think that's what we're supposed to believe, that he is feeling pretty desperate. So now we see Quark selling weapons to bad guys in his new showroom. Haggith is thrilled with Quark, who is a natural salesman. I do feel like selling the weapons is still under the definition of trafficking. He's still selling them and getting the aliens' fingerprints right in his little pad. So, I mean, there's even a trail.
Yeah.
So trying to pretend like because the weapons aren't actually there means it's not trafficking, I don't understand this logic.
Well, I think we come on to this shortly.
I guess. Well, now we're all toasting Quark, which is probably a very bad sign for Quark. It's just...
It is a consistent theme, yes.
Yeah. I mean, good news never lasts on television. I guess that's the problem.
Good news never lasts with Quark either, yeah.
That's true. Later, Haggith asks to see Quark, and it turns out that Haggith doesn't like his business associates to have outstanding debts. So instead of paying Quark his share of the profits, he's paid off Quark's creditors. Then he tells Quark that his associates are like family, and he gives him a gift of expensive Andarian glass beads. And Quark is thrilled, but again, this just seems like we're on a path to something very bad.
Yes. It's also probably very prudent that Haggith took the money and paid off Quark's debts, because you could see Quark taking that and putting it straight back into some dodgy stock market deal.
Yeah.
Or wasting it somehow. So he was probably actually doing Quark a favor there.
Do you remember on Seinfeld when George decided that the only way things were going to go better for him is if he started doing the opposite of everything he would naturally, instinctively do?
Yes, because the ending of that episode was extremely funny.
I feel like that's where Quark should be. He should be at that point in terms of financial decisions, business decisions. He should recognize that everything he's done has just led to disaster. So maybe your instincts are backwards. Now start doing the opposite.
That's a really good take on it.
Yeah.
Because Dax could totally do an Elaine and say, the thing about Quark is, he's an idiot.
Yes. I don't think Dax thinks that, though. She gets mad at him in this episode, but I don't think she thinks he's an idiot.
She thinks he's just a Ferengi.
Exactly. She's just accepted that, yes. Now we go to Quark's bar, and Julian and Miles are throwing darts, and Miles is still holding the baby and throwing darts.
And if we notice, Julian is standing behind the pillar.
Yeah, he's still in his new location.
Way further away.
Where genetically enhanced people have to stand to throw darts. This B story, it's not even a story. It's just like a cute little thing that happens on the side of the other story. They're not trying to at least do something terrible and embarrassing or badly written. It's just like this little thing that's going on.
I know. I feel this is the first time in a while we've had a B story that hasn't just been out and out terrible.
Yeah.
And this one's actually kind of cute.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that would happen around the station.
Yes, and I've heard anecdotal stories from friends, family, coworkers, things like that about these kind of situations.
Yeah.
Where it was like they had to put the baby in the car and drive it around the neighborhood because it was the only way it would fall asleep when it was very, very young.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, now Odo takes Quark to the security office, but Quark says he hasn't broken any laws. Odo says we both know what you're doing and you're going to face the consequences. But in comes Sisko and Kira with some unpleasant news. Odo has to let Quark go because the Bajoran government insists that no one should interfere in the lawful transactions of Hageth or his associates. It seems he supplied arms to the Bajoran resistance, so he is owed some favors. When Quark is a little smug, Sisko hovers over him saying, he's cut Quark slack before, but those days are over. He says, you so much as litter on the promenade and I will nail you to the wall. And Kira smiles and says, oh, something to look forward to. But these are always empty threats. They don't do anything to Quark.
This goes back to your point a moment ago about this is still trafficking.
Yeah, it is.
You're right. And they clearly recognize it as that. The problem is Haygarth has built up some credit with the Bajorans because of what he did during the occupation.
Yes.
And I think he addresses that later.
Yeah, because now we go to Quark, Hageth, and Gaila, and they're all gloating about what's just happened. By the way, Gaila dresses as well as Quark. In fact, I think in this scene is the one where he has the nicer outfit on. He's got that jacket, a really nicely tailored jacket with the big stripes on it. And meanwhile, Quark is wearing one of his like old bedspread jackets. So Gaila looks way better. Well, Hageth talks about how gaining the Bajorans as a friend was just good business, even though it wasn't really profitable. But he did it because he knew the Cardassians were going to eventually lose. And then in comes a dude named Farak, and it seems that this guy has let down Hageth in some way, and Hageth yells at him and essentially fires him. Hageth, at least the guy playing Hageth here, he's like a bit melodramatic in this scene, and he's not particularly menacing. I think he's supposed to be scarier than he is, but he just like all of a sudden starts shouting, and then he's like just talking to Quark as if nothing happened.
Really? I kind of thought the opposite here. I thought he portrayed someone who really was sort of on the edge of, if you like, insanity.
Oh.
1 minute, he just snaps and is shouting at this guy and is being very aggressive.
Yeah, okay.
And then next moment is down to, let's talk about something pleasant.
I did think that's what he was trying to do. Yeah. I just wasn't sure that he executed it. But if you think it worked, then okay, that might just my opinion.
Yeah. It worked for me because I thought that snapping and then coming back portrayed that this character is not the kind of person you really want to deal with at all.
Yeah. Well, in Quark's bar now, there are fewer customers than normal because of Quark's current reputation and the weapons dealing. Gaila tells him a special client, the Regent of Palomar, is coming next week. He's very wealthy and very particular about how he's treated. And then Gaila finally tells Quark that he's thinking of stepping back from his job and letting Quark take his place running things for Hageth. So this is why he's been bigging up Quark, obviously.
Yes.
And this seems like great news for Quark, except we learn that Farak's ship blew up shortly after he left the station, so maybe working for Hageth is more dangerous than Quark realized.
Right, and I'm surprised nobody was doing an investigation into that.
Oh yeah, hand wave. No big deal. A ship blew up.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Doesn't matter. We didn't care about that guy. We only pay attention if we care about somebody.
Oh, right. He wasn't in the credits or in the guest stars. So, yeah.
Exactly. So no investigation necessary.
I think in the bar as well, we don't see any Bajoran security staff or any of the Bajoran officers. There's no Starfleet and there's no Bajorans in uniform either.
Yeah. There's just Morn sleeping on the bar.
Yes. And that leads on to overanalysis.
Yeah.
So do you think this was an order that you can't go to the bar from Kira for the Bajorans and Sisko for the Starfleet personnel? Or do you think it was an unofficial, I don't think people should go?
I hope it was an order.
Yeah.
But it was more likely an unofficial boycott. But I do hope it was an order. Because we shouldn't be going to this bar if the owner of the bar is a well-known trafficker of weapons.
Right.
So maybe it was an order for the Starfleet people, but maybe it was the Bajorans were just issuing a boycott, as it were, in solidarity.
Okay.
What do you think?
I would see it as Sisko heavily hinting that it wouldn't be a good idea to go to the bar.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Here's my take.
Yeah.
I don't think Sisko would go directly out of his way to oppose the Bajoran government or whoever is saying that they can do this. But being political, I could see Sisko telling his people that it's not a good idea to go there right now.
Yeah.
And when it came to Kira, I would have no doubt if Kira wanted to boycott Quarks, she would tell the Bajorans, yeah, you're not going there.
Right. Well, the bar doesn't have anything to do with what they were trying to say needed to be okay.
Yeah.
They said, do not interfere in the lawful transactions of the Hagath guy.
Right.
Though, why again is it lawful to traffic weapons? But anyway, so, the bar doesn't have anything to do with it. So I'm not sure if Sisko would be thumbing his nose to Bajoran government officials by doing this.
I would think he would be concerned about upsetting someone within the Bajoran government.
Maybe. Okay. In the Replomat, Dax is pretty disgusted with Quark and not interested in socializing. He tries to claim he only sells weapons to be used defensively as a deterrent to war. Yeah, you keep telling yourself that.
I'm not selling weapons. I'm selling defensive implements.
He also plays the desperation card, but Dax is having none of it and just is completely refusing to talk to him or to be his friend or acquaintance.
Yeah.
Then in the infirmary, Julian says there's nothing wrong with baby O'Brien. He just likes to cry. He says maybe he's become aware of life's existential isolation. I thought that was really cute, especially with the look on the kid's face during the entire conversation, because that is not what's going on with that kid.
That was funny.
But again, not much going on in this B story.
Yeah. It's also the kind of funny thing that I think that Miles-Bashir relationship, that would be a poke at Miles.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. So now we go to Quark introducing the food that he's planning to serve the Regent of Palomar. Hagath pretends to be really disgusted by this menu, and I'm not going to list all the things that he's made, but he's just playing with Quark. He has a very, unpleasant sense of humor.
Yeah.
And then he tells Quark that he loves him. Again, very nerve-wracking to hear that from this guy.
Did you get a total Goodfellas vibe from that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
Do you find me funny? That whole scene where the same thing basically plays out.
Similar, yes.
Well, there was a lot less swearing for a start.
Well, that's true. Now we do meet the Regent of Palomar, who appears to have stuffed himself with Quark's food as he tells stories of betrayal in his ranks. In particular, this General Nasuk, who he wants revenge upon. Eventually, his plan is to kill about 28 million people because of this one person who betrayed him. Gaila and Hagath are like, sure, whatever, we'll find you something to use. Gaila suggests a mutagenic retrovirus. Quark, however, is a little shocked by this number and he hedges a bit, but Hagath kind of talks over him and is a bit threatening.
Yeah.
And we just go back to the normal transaction.
Quark seems kind of horrified by this whole idea.
Well, and so he should be.
And I liked it when Quark made the joke. It wasn't a joke. He was being serious when he said, couldn't we just make them sick?
Yeah. Or hurt a few of them or something.
Yeah, and that was the thing that really triggered Hagath into being kind of threatening towards Quark.
Well, yeah, that, and he doesn't want to lose the deal. So the Regent here is played by Lawrence Tierney, a pretty famous actor in the 40s and 50s. I read that he'd had a stroke shortly before they filmed, and so he doesn't have a lot to do in this episode, but he's still very menacing in the few lines that he has.
Oh, yeah. He was like 77 when they filmed this.
Yeah.
And he was in Reservoir Dogs. He was
Right.
like the lead gangster.
Right.
And he delivers the great line about assigned aliases and how if you don't assign them, you end up with 4 guys all wanting to be Mr. Black.
Oh, I don't remember that.
He does menacing very well.
Oh, absolutely. He's a lot more menacing than the other guy, for sure.
Yeah.
So later, Gaila reminds Quark that he's planning to retire, but he won't be able to if his hand-picked successor seems to have a conscience. He reminds Quark to focus on the Regent's bank account and not his mental health because Quark says that the Regent is insane.
Yeah.
Gaila tries to say that wiping out one planet doesn't make any difference in the big picture of the universe, and he offers to pay Quark 10 million bars of latinum to go through with it, but he wanders away before Quark responds to that offer.
I think you're seeing this is where Quark really, the conscience is getting to him.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
This is why Quark never sold weapons in the first place.
Yeah.
I think part of the reason why Quark didn't sell them was the conscience aspect.
Maybe.
Showing morality would be seen as a weakness for Ferengi.
Oh, definitely.
So you make up an excuse.
Yeah.
I'm a people person. I'm just into marketing. I can't deal with the technical side of it. So I think this is where that brashness of the Ferengi comes face to face with Quark's own personal moral values, as twisted as they may be.
I see. So you think it's a cover, basically?
Yes.
No, I guess that makes sense. I was thinking that maybe over time, because he is a people person, at least that's what he says, as long as it's not a female, but he is a people person. And I was wondering if over time of, being on the station and watching Starfleet and getting to know people and building relationships, if that hasn't sort of changed the way that he looks at people.
Interesting.
But it could just be, that his natural instinct is, this is not moral.
Right. And maybe the thing that's pushed him over the edge here is the fact that they're finally talking about a body count.
Yeah, he's got a number. Yeah.
Selling a shipment of weapons to some alien on the holodeck isn't necessarily the same as dealing with someone who's saying, oh, this is how many million we want dead.
And he heard the guy say that this is just revenge against one person, so it's senseless.
Yeah, so
it's not about trying to deter a war like he was telling himself, or even defend themselves as part of a war. This is just a senseless attack.
Yeah.
So all the stories he was telling himself have collapsed with this one sale. Yep.
Right in front of him. Right in front of him,
yeah. And it's also creepy when they're all sitting around the table when the Regent says something like, we're all men of honor. It's like, oh my God. This is not a group of honorable people I want to be a part of.
Yeah, I would agree with Quark that he's insane.
Yeah. Well, now Quark has a nightmare where he sees Sisko, Jake, Miles, and Dax all sort of dirty and covered in blood, and they tell him that they're dead and that it's all Quark's fault. And he wakes up saying, what have I done?
I think that was the Prophets. We've already discussed this and disagreed about it. I think it was the Prophets.
But do the Prophets play into morality plays? Do they get themselves involved in something that is, I don't know, against the code of morals that they don't have? They might do it if the Sisko told them to or something, but I don't know. Have we seen them get involved in a moral issue?
Let's think. I think they've done things to protect Bajor and the people they care about. So if this was something that in the big picture may impact the emissary, perhaps they would get involved then?
It could be.
Because Sisko was one of the dead people.
No, it's true. But Quark has had dreams before when he was trying to make a tough decision. Do you think it's always the Prophets?
This is the thing I think where I like the writing because I think it's open to interpretation.
I agree. It is open to interpretation. And it's actually a little bit silly. It's not the kind of dream you would really have. It wouldn't play itself out exactly like that. But they needed a way for Quark to recognize that he was feeling guilty. So, okay, I'll grant you that it's possible, yes.
Yeah, like meeting with the Nagus.
The old Nagus.
Yes, the first Nagus.
Now in Ops, Miles has found one place that the baby can be placed where he doesn't cry, in the pit where Miles spends most of his time. So now the baby is sitting in the pit all asleep, and Sisko is whispering and suggests that maybe Miles takes some time off until Keiko returns. But Miles is like, why? It's all under control. That really made me laugh. Sisko does not agree.
I also liked how all the staff who were like on duty all ran to the pit to look in to see the baby.
Oh, because it's the cutest baby. And when the baby's sleeping, it's even cuter. Sisko does not agree that Kira Yoshi in the pit is an acceptable solution, but he does agree that the baby can stay there until he wakes up from his nap. Now we go to Dax's quarters, and Quark is offering her the Tongo wheel as a gift, but she's not terribly interested and asks him to leave. He's trying to tell her that he's in danger, but she just doesn't care. I mean, maybe he should have said, help me get out of this or something to get her attention, but she's just like, get out.
Yeah, I would see Dax as someone that if you asked for help in that situation, she would try and help you.
Oh, totally. And, well, anybody in Starfleet would.
Well, I think, and as well, particularly her. I mean, look at what happened when Kor came to see her.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. That's why I'm surprised he didn't at least try that. Or maybe she had left the station or something so that he didn't have the opportunity to ask her. But it didn't make a lot of sense to me that he wouldn't just say, help me get out of this. Because he can be such a chicken. At least he has been in past episodes.
Right.
He's not quite that way in this episode. But in the past, you could see him begging somebody to help.
Right.
Well, out in the hallway now, we find Quark talking to his own reflection, and he says, the worst Haggith can do is kill you. What's one life compared to the lives of 28 million people? The trouble is, if you don't do anything or you just do something to try to block it, you're going to end up dead, and he's still going to get the virus, and he's still going to kill 28 million people. So just trying to get yourself out of it is not necessarily going to save 28 million people.
Yeah, you'd think you might need to be a little bit more proactive, but
yeah,
I'll give Quark the benefit of the doubt here.
I'm not really prone to giving the Ferengi the benefit of the doubt, like Dax usually is. So now Quark tells Haggith that he can't get the multigenic retrovirus they discussed. Quark says there's no supply, and this really irritates Haggith because he's already basically sold it to the Regent. But Quark says he has an alternative biogenic weapon, and he wonders if the Regent would be satisfied with only 17 million people being killed if they gave him a 20% discount. He says he'll get a sample sent to the station so they can give a demo to the Regent, which means that the Regent will have to stay on the station a little bit longer than planned. I'm not sure you should be bringing a sample of a biogenic weapon to the station. And also, by the way, doesn't that violate the earlier plan that there are no weapons coming through the station? It's like everything falls apart with that part of the story if you examine it too closely.
Yeah, that is bringing a weapon onto the station, and you would expect Odo to be all over this.
Yeah, totally.
It's a weapon, and it's bringing a potentially dangerous virus to the station. We saw back in season 1 what happens when you get a virus on the station.
I guess it's not really what's in the container. That's my guess.
Oh.
Because we never see it. There's no real demo. That's not the point, right? The point is to try to get these people into the same room as we're about to talk about. So I think that was maybe fake.
Oh, I didn't think there was any real virus. But I think telling Haygarth that they wanted to bring a sample, he didn't have a problem with that. So as far as Haygarth knew, they were going to bring a real virus to the station.
Totally. And Gaila, I'm sure, as well. And they didn't want to do that because they knew the risk. So it's surprising that all of a sudden they would want to do that.
Yeah. I put Quark as making the whole alternative source of the virus up.
Okay. Quark does claim to be excited by this deal because it's the first profit he gets to keep. And Haggith tells him, all right, well, get moving. So now Quark takes Gaila to meet someone, and it's General Nassuk. That's the woman who betrayed the Regent. This is the whole reason that the Regent wanted to kill 28 million people is this woman.
She was his protege, wasn't she?
I think so, yeah. Gaila asks Quark if he's crazy, but Quark says they'll double their profits by selling to each of them and then letting them wipe each other out. Gaila is worried that the two mortal enemies will run into each other on the station, but Quark claims they can keep them apart. He asks Gaila to take the General to Cargo Bay 5 in 20 minutes. So now we go to Cargo Bay 5, and Quark is trying to open up a container to show the Regent the sample weapon, but he claims he can't open it without a descrambler. So he runs out of the room, leaving Haggith, the Regent, and some henchmen. And out in the hallway, he passes Gaila, who's taking the General toward the cargo bay. And he says, I'll be right back. He waits until Gaila, the General, and her henchmen all go into the cargo bay, and he hears firing start. Quark quickly heads to the promenade just as Odo shouts about the phaser fire in Cargo Bay 5, and a security detail runs towards the cargo bay.
That is a funny scene because, like, every extra on set, I think, runs towards the left side of the screen.
Meanwhile, we had some phaser fire in the last episode, and nobody even noticed.
Yeah, there was a load of people running there. It was pretty funny.
Yep.
All of the Starfleet and Bajoran security were on the way.
Yep. And Quark is now sitting down looking kind of smug and relieved at the same time.
Yes, he is.
So we go now to the O'Brien quarters, and Worf comes to see Miles, basically asking him why he's not working on something that Worf is waiting for.
Yeah, he was going to go and upgrade the stereo in his van or something.
It was something in the van. It seems that Miles is still carrying the baby around all the time. He asks Worf to hold the baby for a minute while he goes to get the bottle, and we learn that Worf also seems to have the secret ability to keep the baby from crying. So Miles takes Yoshi back, puts him in his little futuristic baby seat, and then sits down because everything's quiet for a moment. And Worf says that he'll always regret having not seen his own son when he was that age. But doesn't matter, too late, Miles is fast asleep. So
Snoring
that
quietly.
conversation doesn't happen and Worf leaves.
Yeah, he's pretty much passed out.
In Sisko's office, Sisko is telling Quark that he's facing serious charges, like incitement to riot or something like that.
Yes.
Quark claims he just wanted them to cross paths so the deal would fall through. He claims he didn't know they'd start shooting. Yeah, right. Apparently, Hagath and Gaila made it off the station alive, but General Nasuk sent a purification squad after them, so Sisko says he shouldn't count on seeing his former business partners again. Quark says, I can live with that.
I think that was very much Quark's hope.
Yeah. The purification squad already caught up with the Regent and killed him, so he's gone.
Not much of a loss for the galaxy there.
Yeah. Quark says he can live with that too, and so can 28 million other people. And Sisko says 28 million and one. Quark wonders if there's something that can be done about the charges against him, and Sisko says Quark can pay for the damage to Cargo Bay 5. He says maybe they can come up with an installment plan, which Sisko's like, yep, I can live with that. And Quark is right back in financial trouble. Now we go to Dax's quarters where Quark and Dax are enjoying Tongo again, and all is right with the world. The end.
And I think that is going to be on next week's episode of Inappropriate Conversations with Jadzia Dax.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
How I acquired Quark's Tongo wheel.
Because she wasn't going to give it back.
Yes, and how I'm never giving it back.
Well, that was actually a pretty quick episode.
It really was.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot really of depth to it.
Yeah.
But I assume you have some overanalysis we haven't talked about yet?
I do, actually. Yep. And the first thing is, I felt Quark was actually being genuine in his idea, in his small world view of, if I get these two people together in the same room, maybe they can actually sort out their differences. Influenced, I think, by being around Starfleet and Sisko and the whole Federation idea of, can we just talk these things through? I think that has rubbed off on him. And in his own clunky way, he was attempting to do that.
Really?
And I think he was genuine in doing that as well.
Really? I don't think that at all. I think he was hoping they would all kill each other and they'd all be dead and he wouldn't have to deal with it.
I would agree with you, but for the fact Quark's plans are usually terrible.
True.
If Quark was a good enough planner, I would say yes.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point. His plans are usually terrible.
Yeah.
And he was just trying to get them to cross paths, but if he didn't think that there was danger of shooting, he would have done it at the bar.
That's
instead
true.
Of in a cargo bay where no one else could get hurt.
Yeah. Okay. That could go either way.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, yeah, he was looking at a way of getting out of it.
Yeah.
And I think he was taking a quite simplistic approach.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Okay, next thing.
Yeah.
So, Sisko is the emissary. Kira has said that the Bajorans would do almost anything he told them to. So, even if Sisko is reticent to pull, I'm the emissary, and tell the Bajoran government, no longer provisional.
That's true. We haven't heard that in a long time.
Yeah, that you shouldn't allow the weapons to be sold on the station, even the brokerage of them. The thing is, he doesn't want that to happen from a Starfleet Federation perspective. Wouldn't that filter through to the Bajorans? Because Kira knows that's what his opinion is, and the other Bajorans know that's what his position is. Wouldn't that filter around of, look, the emissary is saying we shouldn't be doing this. He's not pulling the emissary card. He's not saying, as the emissary, I don't think he should do it. But if you're like Kira, that you look at Sisko as this religious icon, if he says this is a bad idea, even unofficially, wouldn't you contact the government and say, look, the emissary says it's a bad idea. You shouldn't do it.
Well, there's your answer to why the Bajorans weren't in Quarks.
Oh, yeah, that certainly could be the reason.
And You've talked about that Sisko is very political, so he's probably smart enough to not say certain things in certain situations so that it's looked at as an order from the emissary. So maybe he was being quite cautious. If he had actually stood up and said, you shouldn't do this or you should do this, then they would probably react. But if he had stayed out of it, then everything else is just hearsay.
Oh, so maybe you think it could have come from the next level up of this was a Starfleet directive of don't go to the bar because of business dealings with Quark.
Oh, no, that's not at all what I was saying.
Yeah. Because then Sisko would be like, this isn't my decision, this is coming from Starfleet.
No. Not about the bar. I'm saying that he probably did say something like, I'm not going to the bar, or don't go to the bar. And then even though the Bajorans don't necessarily work for him as members of Starfleet, they heard this is what the emissary said, so they just didn't do it.
Oh, gotcha.
That's what I'm saying about that. What I'm saying about the other thing about him, like if he had gone to the government and said, we need to do something about Haggith, or we need to stop arms dealing on the station, if he had done an official statement to them, then they might have listened.
Right.
But instead, if Kira just goes to them and says, I don't think that Sisko likes this, then it's just hearsay. Then it's not an official thing that he's telling them to do.
Right.
That's what I meant.
Okay.
But I could see people reacting to him just around him and just being like, oh, the emissary says don't go in there. I'm not going in there.
Right. So you think when it came to the Bajoran government, even though other Bajorans had witnessed the emissary saying this, the government ministers, whoever involved, could have deniability and say, well, I didn't hear it directly from him.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
I gotcha. Yeah. That seems like a very valid political viewpoint that you could see a politician doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, next thing.
Yep.
And I think on to the final one. I can't see why, even if you were a Ferengi, why you would ever have a Ferengi on your staff or payroll or involved in any kind of deal. Because they will try and cheat you first chance they get.
Yeah.
And they are so stupid and greedy that they will do things against their best interests if they think they can make money.
Yeah.
Hagarth is a complete psychopath, and still Galen is working on a deal to kind of cheat him behind his back and make some extra money. Quark leads him right up this path. Anytime you got for the Ferengi, they're going to be like this. Do you remember there was one of the episodes where somebody found something out from one of the Ferengi crew on a freighter? And it was a bribe.
Oh, yeah.
Because you'll always find somebody open to a bribe, or maybe there's one of the crew who's disgruntled.
Yeah.
So it seems to me that if you're dealing with Ferengi, you either have to have tabs on them all the time, or you just couldn't keep them on your payroll.
Yeah. No, totally. I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah. And even if you were a Ferengi running a business, the last people you would want in the business would be other Ferengi.
Oh, yeah, totally. No, it's true.
Stepping back from this and thinking some more, I think part of it is maybe the only way you keep Ferengi in line is the threat of death.
Yeah, it seems like it.
And
because they're cowards in general.
Right. And if Hagarth was holding that over Galen of, you do anything really wrong, I'll just kill you. Maybe that was keeping him loyal. But even then, with Hagarth being the way he is and Galen knowing, he still is open to this idea with Quark of selling weapons to both sides behind Hagarth's back.
Yeah. It does seem like, though, Gaila has actually been a pretty good partner for Haggith, at least up till now. He's maybe a little bit smarter than the average Ferengi.
Right.
And he just sort of let Quark talk him into that at the end. It probably would have made more sense if he couldn't have talked him into it. Because he feared for his life. He couldn't have been working for him for such a long time and never had this thought before to cross him.
Maybe that's the problem of if you have a second Ferengi. The other Ferengi eventually talks the first one into doing something stupid. It's like individually Ferengis might be smart, but you get a few of them together and the combined intelligence drops to 0.
Exponentially worse, yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
And with those insults to the Ferengi, I wrap up my overanalysis. Over to you.
Well, the only thing I have in my overanalysis is that this is a really overly simplified story about gun running with a consequence-less resolution, which is honestly a little bit sad that there's no actual consequences to it. But I don't know, it just seemed like we were trying to tell a complicated story, but we really simplified everything. even at the end, would Quark really be totally out of hot water with these people?
That is a really good point.
Yeah.
I would say that depends. Because if Quark is just seen as like the salesman and not really part of the team of Galen and Hagarth, then maybe it's like, you don't kill the guy who's working on the front counter.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the thinking of the general's purification squads.
Yeah, maybe.
You don't kill the caterer.
That's true. At this point, that is what Quark was, at least to the regent, but maybe not to the general. But yeah. Well, that was all I had in my overanalysis, so I'll just go to women in the future. And we had that obviously disgusting thing that Gaila did at the beginning with Dax, and she doesn't even react. She doesn't do anything about it because that's how we like women to be when we're sexually harassing them or whatever we're doing. So that, of course, is very terrible and upsetting. But it's at the very least good to know that Dax actually does have her limits with Quark, that there really was something he could do that would upset her so much that she would stop being friends with him. And I was like, oh, finally. Okay. Because they've tried to make it seem like of all the horrible things that the Ferengi do to women, she doesn't mind. But, oh, well, here's one thing that she did mind. So at least that was good that she finally had limits.
And she got to keep his Tonga wheel.
She did. So that's all I have for women in the future. So I'll just go to rating. Thumbs up, thumbs down, or neutral. What is your rating?
I am giving it a thumbs up. I enjoyed this episode.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's not a very complex story. It's not in depth. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
It actually shows that Quark does have a morality.
Yeah.
Even for a Ferengi. And the B story was also sort of cute and not grating or stupid. So I think overall, it's just an enjoyable, fun episode.
Yeah, I agree. I gave it a thumbs up. Simplistic yet good episode is what I put in my notes. I think they were dealing with something that in the 90s was a pretty big deal. There was a lot of news going on at that time about weapons trade and, things that the U.S. government was involved with and whatever. So I think it was actually a very serious topic.
Yeah.
But they handled it in that sort of really lighthearted way that maybe television does. Not always lighthearted in the Star Trek world. A lot of times these kinds of things are actually quite sincere.
Yeah.
But this was not that. I think because they're so stuck with the Ferengi having to be funny. And that was sort of introduced a long time ago. And so that does seem to be like a part of everything now with the Ferengi. This is one of the maybe least offensive Ferengi episodes that we've had. And it was pretty good. The character of Quark was pretty good. I thought quite well written here for Quark. So I was impressed that finally maybe that happened. We've had a couple episodes like that now where it's like, it's just about Quark. It's not about anything that's disgustingly Ferengi. So I like that.
Right.
It's the evolution of Quark, I guess. Yeah. All right. I think that wraps up season 5, episode 18. Kind of a quick discussion for a very uncomplicated episode.
Uncomplicated, but enjoyable.
Yeah, I would say so. In the meantime, if you'd like to send us your own overanalysis of this or any episode, or if you just want to say something nice, you can email us at rebingeit@gmail.com, or you can tweet us at rebingeit. We're also on Instagram and YouTube at ReBingeIT. You can check us out on talkthroughmedia.com. You can leave feedback there, including feedback for individual episodes. And you can also listen to the other Star Trek podcasts in our network.
Thanks for joining us on the Rebinge Deep Space Nine podcast.
That's it for me.
And that's it from me.